This is Kitten Features, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in his student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wayne in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hey everybody, and welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. You guys are listening live at 2 p.m. Eastern, and was it now 6 p.m. GMT accordingly?
That is, yeah. Strange.
As you guys have done the time warp on us again, as we get ready to, whenever it is time warp again. Yes. As to when we do it on this side of the pond, and so I haven't checked the calendar, but it should be coming up soon. But you guys are live with Show X on VTWProduction.com. And it is, what's today already? The 28th of October, 2018. As we are in a nice, happy, spoopy week as we get ready for Halloween. So, welcome to the show.
Hell House on Netflix, man. It's so scary.
Really?
It's so scary. It's so good. We've been watching it all week. I think we've got 2 episodes left now that we've not seen. Oh, they're so good.
I was going to say,
really well made.
Don't think I know that one.
You need to watch it. It's on Netflix. It's just the scariest thing. We've been really enjoying watching it, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to us finishing it so that we can go and watch the YouTube videos to see all the scary bits in the background that we missed, because there's a lot of like things standing there looking creepy in the background that you don't notice all the time.
Okay.
Which makes it feel even creepier because you know that there's stuff there that you don't see. And occasionally when you do see it, you're like, oh my god, it's been there for like 5 minutes staring at us.
Ah.
So creepy.
Nice.
So good. So good. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to hijack the intro.
No, that sounds good. That's actually, it's appropriate for this time of year. That's all right. We will go ahead and get things kicked off with a little bit of
dysfunctional deviations.
So, with that in mind, Ken, what have you been doing this week?
So I got something different. I got a new camera lens.
Oh.
My parents got me this for my birthday, and I only just received it today. As I hadn't been through to visit them in a while, so I went through today and picked it up. It's a 55mm to 250.
Oh yeah, one of the basically what I consider a walk-around lens or travel lens.
It's a good medium zoom lens. And considering I didn't have anything that was zoomy at all before, really, other than my kit lens, this is a huge improvement. So
nice.
We went to a loch, Burnley Loch today.
Okay.
In Fife, and there's a bunch of swans and geese and duck there. So I tried taking a few shots, and it was nice and sunny today, even though it was very cold. It was -2 degrees Celsius.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty chilly. So I took a bunch of shots with that, and I actually tried it with the sports mode on. Tried to take some shots of like birds flying.
Okay, yeah.
With sort of AI servo for focus, so that it's constantly trying to focus on the subject in the middle of the camera lens. And my dogs want to say hi. Hello. Hello, I see you. So I decided to try it out, and it was surprisingly good with the sports stuff. I thought because it was a zoom lens, it'd be really bad at that, but that means it's especially good at wildlife photography.
Oh yeah.
It means that I can also when it focuses, unlike all my other lenses, it doesn't sort of go trying to find it. Just beautifully silent. It's really nice.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to properly playing with it. I had a bit of a shot today, and the shots look pretty good. And in particular, on the drive home from my parents, I noticed this strange orange thing in the sky, and yes, the sun is a strange orange thing for us here in Scotland, but it was actually a hot air balloon.
Oh.
And I realized it was about 15 miles ahead of me in the direction I was heading. So I sort of put my foot down a little bit and sped after it, chasing a hot air balloon, and I managed to park directly under where it was moving towards. So I got some shots directly under it, looking up, zoomed in. So it doesn't fully fill the photo, but a good third of the photo was this hot air balloon, which is pretty nice. So the zoom lens really, really helped with that. It was quite lucky timing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those shots turned out as well. I also realized that since generally I usually do all my shots on a very low, like 3.5 aperture,
okay,
or so, I just find it's quicker and usually requires less exposure time. So I realized that when you're fully zoomed in and you do that, it actually gives a sort of vignette sort of look. So
Okay.
I know I'm saying a bunch of technical terms here that probably don't most of our listeners don't understand. But vignette is just when there's sort of like shading around the corner of the image and out the side of it. So like it sort of darkens the sides of the image, but not the center. It's good for when you're doing like some portrait photography of people and you want to focus on the center. That's quite a useful thing to do. But this is kind of unintentional vignette, so it's not necessarily a good thing. But it looked okay in the photos. I've not seen it on the computer screen, to be fair, yet. But it looked good on the photos. But I realized that I have to actually bump up the aperture and let more light in, because I think the way that the mechanics of the zoom means that less light comes in than normal because it's zooming.
Yep. Normally,
and therefore I need to sort of up the aperture to let more light in. So that was an interesting point of physics that I noticed today, which is good. So that was fun. I'm looking forward to playing with that more. Hopefully, it'll encourage me to play with my camera. Also, my car, I mentioned I got hit a few weeks ago, just a scrape on the side of my car. The guy who hit me was driving this really fancy, I think it was a BMW or something. And it was a beautiful silver BMW that scraped along the side of my Ford Fiesta. And I thought to myself, oh man, he's going to deny it, or he's going to drive off, and it's going to be hellish to deal with.
Yeah.
But the guy stopped. He was very apologetic. He was like, it was entirely my fault, he said. And we swapped insurance details. Turns out it was his work car, so his insurance was really good. So they came by, they picked up my car, they dropped off a courtesy car, and they're off going to go spray paint the whole side of that car to make it look nice.
Nice.
So I was like, okay, we can do this. This is fine. So now I'm driving this courtesy car, and I was expecting it to be terrible, but it's actually it's a Honda Jazz, which is apparently quite a new model.
Okay.
It's got some nice features in it, like it reads the road signs as we go past and tells me what the speed limit is on the dashboard in case I forget. It checks if I'm in lane and will alert if I go out of lane at all, if I drift at all in the motorway.
Yep.
Which is quite nice, and it'll beep and tell me. Unless I indicate first, then it knows that I was going to do it. While it's an automatic, I've never driven an automatic before, so that was a little strange to get used to. I can see why it's nice and easy, but I still prefer. I feel like I can move off a lot faster in manual, because in automatic it tries to, care more about I don't know, being slow and wary and careful. Whereas if I know what I'm doing, I'm like, I should be able to take off. Like if I need to leave quickly on a roundabout to get in front of somebody coming around it, and I have, it says rush hour, you need to be quite quick there. In an automatic, it's actually really difficult to get the speed, the acceleration at the very beginning. But in a manual, I can just put my foot down and go. Yeah,
because you're already in gear.
I have to sort of judge the situation myself. Whereas the automatic, I guess, does that so that if it's icy, it'll be the perfect. It won't be pushing too hard, and I won't skid or anything. But in manual, you just make the decision yourself, and I know that it's fine, so I can do that. So there's ups and downs of both. I am enjoying the laziness. My left foot is enjoying just sitting there doing nothing. It's quite nice. But it's a strange experience driving in a different car. It's always weird. And it's 1.4 liter as opposed to my normal 1.2, so it goes a little faster at the higher ends, which is always nice. But because it's automatic, I feel like this engine is always screaming when I don't want it to. Like normally I'd go up a gear ages ago, but it's always screaming. It doesn't seem to want to go up gears by itself, which is a little annoying. But that's been most of my week. I should also mention that my in-laws came to visit, like I said they would.
Nice.
And that was good fun. It was nice to have them here. The sisters stayed the night on Friday, and they enjoyed, and we enjoyed some Dominoes, because they don't really have them in near Geneva, in the sort of like border of France. And the one that they do have, they don't allow customization. They only allow the base pizzas that are on the menu.
What?
Which is really weird. Yeah, and that's really super expensive.
Like, how is that a pizza place? That makes no sense.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. By the way, for everybody interested, I just saw this myself. Twitch Prime just now. If you play League of Legends, or you ever have, or you have an account, you may as well do this. This is active from October 26th till December 12th this year. League of Legends in-game loot. It's a Summoner's Crown capsule. I have no idea what that means, but I'm going to claim it because why not?
Yeah.
I claim everything, even though I don't play half the games there. Maybe I'll have it attached to my account. I also had some good news this week. So I've been fighting back and forth with the energy company for this house, because every year they tell me that I've got 2 electric meters in this house when I only have 1. And they keep telling me that I owe them thousands of pounds. This happens once every year, and then once every year I call them a bunch of times, and eventually it seems to be brushed under the carpet and brushed under the rug, and I don't hear anything more about it for another year. Then it must be like their billing period, and it comes up again.
Yeah,
so annoying.
Something that they've yet to actually update in their records, and it just kicks in every time.
So I actually managed to corner somebody, this nice lady, this nice Indian lady who I was speaking to on the phone from the customer service, and I was expecting her to do the same as everybody else had and be like, "Oh, we'll call you back in a week about progress," and then hear nothing about it, and then have to start again next week. This keeps happening. And I said to her, "Look, I'm not getting off the phone until I get a proper answer here because I keep getting screwed around. I'm sorry to be rude. I know this isn't your fault, but I really need some assistance from you. Can you please help me with this? And please don't just pass this on. Can you, if you need to raise it to your manager, that's fine. But I really don't want to hang up the phone until I get a proper solution, or at least I've received an email from you so that you have some kind of responsibility to it and your name's attached to it, so that I can know that it's going to get solved. Because after all, I believe that's everybody's job with the customer service to help. And so she said, "You know what? I totally understand. It must be really scary getting a £2,500 bill that you don't need to, that you believe you're not supposed to pay. I will deal with it." And the first thing she did was say, "Look, I'm looking at your account, and I see this has been passed back and forth between 4 different representatives before me. That's totally unfair, and they should have dealt with it. And I apologize on behalf of the company. I'll talk to my manager and see if we can get you a £50 apology." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." So the first thing they did is they sent us £50 as an apology. I was like, that's pretty nice. To be fair, I did say to them, at this stage, I'm going to leave the company as soon as this is sorted, because, So I think that was partly please stay with us kind of thing. But that was quite nice. I wasn't complaining about getting a bit of free money in exchange. Well, I say free for my time, right? For hours of my time. But still, it was nice of them to give that back. And then over the weekend, she dealt with it. She called me back on Monday and she said, "Yep, I got some managers in on it because it's outside of basically customer service didn't have enough power to deal with it. So they got some of the managers together to deal with it." And they had a big meeting, apparently because it was such a big account with thousands of pounds attached to it in debit. They decided to get the managers in on it, and they sat together and looked through my bills, and they were like, "Yeah, turns out you only do have a single meter in your property, and turns out we owe you £1,000."
Hey.
Yeah, so I got a little bit of a payday, a secret payday. To be fair, it's not like I'm gaining any money. I'm just getting the money that I was.
Yeah, that it was already owed to you.
Yeah. But you know what? I in the end, I don't really. I chased them down. I seem to have done the right thing, and I'm being rewarded for my work. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I got an extra £50 on top. So I've not got the money yet, but I can see it sitting in my energy account. It's just
okay.
It's sitting there ready to be withdrawn. Apparently, I had to wait on the next bill before I can do anything with it.
Gotcha.
They promised me by Tuesday, so that's good news. It means that with Vegas coming up and us visiting the US and Christmas and birthdays and such, it's a good time of year for a little extra bonus. Especially since I'm a student, I have zero chance of getting a bonus. Like it just doesn't happen. And teachers don't get bonuses, at least in my university. So at least not lab demonstrators anyway, like I am. So that's good news. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear.
But that's everything on my end, sir. If you don't mind, I'm going to close this door behind me to try and prevent Doges coming in and constantly try and lick. They always wait until I'm doing the show to come in and lick themselves on that bed because they're like, "Haha, he can't tell us off anymore." We've
got an audience now.
Yeah. Watch, people, as I lick myself in places that only dogs can reach.
Yep, by all means, sir. Go ahead and sort your room, and I will start things off with what I've been up to this week. Now, admittedly, some of this is I want to make sure Ken's ready to hear it because my week started off on kind of the opposite note in some cases. And so in the sense I guess start off saying that. So, both things. Your camera, you got a new lens. Mine decided to poop itself.
Oh, no!
Yeah, my camera is essentially dead. And I don't know what to do with it.
Do you have insurance on it? Warranty, anything like that?
Oh, and it's old enough now, I wouldn't expect to be able to do anything with it anyways. The challenge I have right now is that, let's see, is it even going to kick on now? This might be a combination of issues. Battery issues / I don't know what's going on with it. But essentially what happened is I had initially an aftermarket battery in there, and they've been working fine for a length of time, no big deal. But I figured that might be part of the problem, so I switched over to my genuine Canon battery, although that looks like it's completely drained now. So I charged them both. And I got an error on it, and I took it out like a week prior to go on a hike. And took it around and was out basically going up in the mountains and went by a river and stuff like this. And I mean, it was out and bouncing around like it normally would be, but I never changed lenses. I just had one lens. And I had taken a Sigma kind of similar kind of lens of a walk around where I think it was a 18 to 250 or something like that. Pretty wide, lengths of the telephoto on it. So pretty wide on that. And it served just fine. Now, granted, the lens was being a little wonky in the sense that the focus on it was really noisy and kind of binding. So whenever I'd focus, it was a little a little grindy as such. But that was on the lens. Okay, fine. It was a lens I had bought from someone else cheap, so it being a little problematic wasn't a big deal. The thing that got me is then after pulling things off the camera and then turning it on the other day because I was going to use it for my Halloween party, and it gave me an E01 error.
Oh, that's a major one, isn't it?
It is, in the sense that what it says is it can't communicate with the lens. Which means that the camera body has no idea what the aperture settings are for the lens, what its zoom is, whether it's focus, things like that. Which you'd think, I could just go to manual and get around it. But that was not working. It just, every time I try to click, it go click and say, nope, E01, sorry, you're screwed.
Shit, dude, I'm sorry to hear that.
I don't know what to do. It's weird because last year, not this year, but the year prior, when I had gone to Balloon Festival down in Albuquerque, there was a Canon booth there, and I actually had them service the camera there, clean it, and do everything like that. And that was from Canon themselves, and so I was hoping I wouldn't have to worry about any issues like this. So we'll see. I need to actually look it up and see if this is something that, because I looked at all the contacts and such, and they look fine. So I don't know, and I tried multiple lenses. In fact, I took the lens that was problematic, put it on my old camera body, and it worked just fine. And so it's definitely the body. Yeah, definitely a new body.
Have you tried a different battery?
Yes. So I swapped batteries, did various things, so now I'm at a state where it's just kind of, I had enough other things going on in life that I let that sit and was like, nope, not going to deal with it right now. That's enough frustration. I have a party to get to and things like that.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a suck. At the same time,
oh, buddy, I'm so sorry.
We'll see. Maybe it's dead. Maybe it's not. It's entertaining in a way. One of my friends from work actually messaged me like, dude, body going out, not having that available anymore. That's pain. And I can, how do you say? He was like, I sympathize. And the reason being is he's a friend who travels around a lot doing a lot of beautiful photography. In fact, I need to see if I can get his website or anything so I can show people. His landscape stuff is phenomenal. But he was out west at the ocean shooting, and he actually went down to the beach, and there were some rocks and stuff. He had set up his camera on a tripod to get some breaker water kind of shots. And the thing about the way he shoots is it's not just let me just pull the trigger and see what I get. He's one of those guys who sets up the scene, knows exactly what he wants to capture, and then waits for the moment. Yeah, he really does. He waits for the moment and then takes that one picture that's the picture he wants, right? He is that kind of patient guy. Yeah, I
wish I could learn from a guy like that, man.
And I need to, but I need to talk to him before he heads out from this area. And set up a day. I've talked about forever that set up a day for photographers or new people to kind of share ideas. But he was on this trip, and he had taken a bunch of photos and such, and was kind of towards, not the end of the trip, but latter half of it. And he was setting up for the shot, and it had been spraying a little bit, so he was doing a time shot kind of thing where he'd set the timer.
Told me this guy. Yeah.
And then he'd back off and let it shoot. Well, then what happened is a wave came in, and it actually wasn't even like a big wave or anything that would like splash the camera kind of thing. It was one that just went up past the tripod. Fine. The camera was sitting there just fine. He was like, all right. But as it started pulling back out, it caught the tripod just right in that it yanked the camera back into the ocean.
Oh, man.
And it sucked, and he was just like, no! Saw it happening. He jumped for it. And it wasn't even in the water for like, I want to say not even a minute, right? It was probably in the water for less than 30 seconds for him to reach out, grab it, and get it up. And already when he like opened it up to drain it and such, he could see the salt water crystallizing and like the electronic stuff all throughout the circuitry on it, even like through the lenses onto the sensor, all that stuff.
Oh man!
And it's one of those
That's
things.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, ocean water is like one of the most corrosive things you could ever have for electronics. So he was sympathizing with me for just like, yeah, I know what it's like to lose a camera body recently. So yeah,
Poor guy,
that sucked. But
well, hey, dude, you never know. You might go to a repair shop and they're like, oh, that's just because of this one connection.
Something, right?
It could be something as easy as that. Who knows?
So I'll start by doing some research online.
Yeah,
no, I'll start by researching online. Plus, it's kind of been going along now. I doubt I would go into this onto my camera yet because it's way beyond my skill. But as I've been learning a lot more about soldering and doing small electronic work, like I've mentioned before, I realize almost anything can be fixed with just the right part replacement or a piece of the board fixed or something like that. Almost any electronic. So I'm not giving up on it, but I also know that I'm not the guy to do it yet. So we'll see. I'll research. But there's that.
Well, hey, let's think of it this way, though. You've got such a backlog of photos to go through anyway. You could spend the next 3 months editing photos. Feel like you've got a camera because of it.
In a lot of ways, yes. And I jokingly was telling some people, it's like, I guess this is the sign that I need to stop taking photos. Well, and other friends were sitting there saying, hey, opportunity to upgrade. I was like, not in the same way that I often run into with like computer parts or something, because I've done that, right? I've had at a game fest or a LAN party, and I've told this story before, years ago, I had gone down to my buddy Sir Pencer's house when we were hosting it there, set all up, and I had my custom water cool rig at the time and all those things.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
And out of nowhere, a screw fell on the back of my video card and just smoke, and like, awesome. That day, I ran up to the candy store at the time, with that one, it was CompUSA, grabbed another $500 video card and came back to keep gaming, right? Because I was like, I'm not missing a weekend of gaming with my friends. Heck
Damn
no.
right. Screw you, Destiny.
Well, and
I work hard.
Well, there's a lot of opportunities I've had where I've been fortunate enough that in some cases I've been able to throw money at a problem, and that was when I did. This time, though, the problem is, I'm running a 7D, and I suppose I could go get like a 7D Mark II, right, and just be the upgrade of what I have. That's fine. But I've been eyeballing for the longest time, full frame cameras.
Oh, yeah. There's no more opportune time than when you've got no other choice, right?
Right, and it's kind of that level of that upgrade. Well, what better time than to an upgrade that you actually want to upgrade to something new and better versus just an incremental upgrade. And so the challenge there is the price difference is significant enough that it's not
Yeah, that's something where you start thinking about credit options, right? You don't buy that outright. That kind of price of a camera, it's good for your credit anyway, right?
I have to get rid of other credit stuff. Nothing is good for my credit right now except paying bills. But yeah, no, it is one of those where the challenge is the bodies I've been looking at start at like $3,200 to $3,500.
Yeah.
And go up from there, because it's that question of, well, what kind of photography am I primarily going to be doing? So do I care to get like a 5D Mark IV, or maybe go so far as a 1D and like get a 1D Mark III or something like that? But I don't believe I need a 1D at all. Like, that is ridiculous stuff.
You definitely do not need.
Well, it's also
need-wise, you could work well with a 600D, right? I mean, realistically, you'll be fine. Well, I'm talking needs, right? That's
okay.
Need
based on me running around, my need for photography for a camera is that I need one that's sealed against the elements better than the regular plastic body. So I do need a magnesium body if I do get any camera, because that's one of the things about the 70 that's been so good.
How many hours do you think you spend a week on photography on average? Right, on average.
Actually, if it's per week on average, almost none. I got so many hobbies, but when I do shoot, it's like a weekend solid of it.
Yeah, exactly. So if over a year you spend like, I don't know, 300, 500, 1,000 hours on photography, then
maybe.
I'd say judge on that, right? Judge on that.
But that's the thing. So I'll make a decision here at some point, but I'll try to fix it first. But yeah, where I've been leaning towards is more like that 5D Mark IV, because the fast shooting it does and just the performance kind of features it has compared to what the 1D series has. If I was doing strictly studio shots or known landscape things where I have time to set up and take the shot, the 1D would be by far what I'd be after. But because of most of my shots are walking around doing things at cons and stuff like that, or action shots and things, the 5D I think is actually a better body for that.
I think before you make a decision like this, it definitely requires more research. Right?
Oh yeah, no, I'll be running around DP review and other stuff, and I mean, okay, it's one of those things. Like what people might think about me is so I do sometimes have snap decisions and do kind of quick purchases, but the majority of time, those purchases, while they may seem expensive and it may seem like I just jump and do it, I have been researching that specific item or class of item for like a year or something prior to purchasing it, and I jump when I either have enough money in the bank and nothing else conflicting, or I see enough of a sale on something that I realize this is a one-time kind of good deal where I'm going to save more money than I'll see the rest of the year. Those are the occasions when I'll suddenly buy that big thing. Or if I'm in a situation where I have an event coming up and the thing I was counting on crapped itself, and thus I need to replace. And so like me saying the 5D Mark IV is what I'd likely buy right now, that's after I've been watching every new Canon product come out.
I was having deep deliberation over years of consideration.
Yeah.
And
well,
you're shitting, you're thinking about it, and
and having to make that still that thought of the new mirrorless, right? The new just body, just sensor ones that are all digital like that, and kind of going, but I'm not sold on those yet. Even though it's a lighter, smaller body.
Yeah, I think we wait 2-3 years. That's gonna
till the second or third generation comes out, at least.
Yeah, it's not worth it just yet.
So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, anyhow, so I had that happen. Other than that, I also had my car. I think I'd mentioned a little bit that I was trying to fix it, or did. I don't know if I said before. But the challenge with my fix is because it's a bushing that came off. Two things. One, I don't know what the copyright on this is or not, but the replacement bushing kit that I got to fix it, which is, again, it's just a connector between the shift linkage and the actual little pin that's on the automatic transmission, that it fits around and so that it can push and pull it into gear. And between those connections is just a rubber piece that allows it to all fit and comfortably deal with engine rattle and things like that, so it's not like a hard pinned or wired thing in there.
Sure. Easy,
normal design. The challenge is apparently on the Ford series of whenever mine was made, there's a whole bunch of where the bushings they got at that time must have been chemically incorrect because they're just disintegrating. And I found some pieces of the original one that were just falling apart. Like,
oh my god.
Oh yeah, and it's something I read around enough online that people are like, oh, this is a serious issue, and there were some cars that have been recalled, but apparently not mine. So it's just like, oy. So I went and found a replacement kit online after doing a bunch of research and such, and found it, new bushing, brought it in. The problem is there's like one company that has a kind of universal kit that fits for my car as well as others. So I got that, followed the directions, stuck it in there, and got it connected again. Was able to drive around a bit, but something about the way it's connected is not completely like solid, so it keeps popping off. And it's inconvenient, but not impossible for me to just reach in and press it back on, so that I can then
see what I mean, annoying though.
Well, but I basically get about like 3 shift sequences out of it before it tries to pop off again. And I'm just like, grr. So I can get around with it, but I'm still mostly driving my Miata. And I need to go into it again one of these days and see if I can't put it on there better. But knowing that it was a potential issue, preemptively, one of the things I did is I actually went out and I grabbed my calipers and Fusion 360 and essentially recreated the same model of that bushing digitally. So I have like measurements of it. My thought being that I have now the basis of what they use as a repair kit. And as I mess with it, if I can think of any more specific design elements I can do for my car, my version, that I may actually just 3D print a replacement one and use that instead. So we'll see. But
idea?
Yeah, it's a thought. That's why I say I don't know what the legality of it is, because I did recreate what I visualized and measured of someone else's design. And
yeah, but there are specific laws around repairing your own stuff, though, right? Like we talked about
there
before.
are, and it's kind of mucked in the U.S. all over the place. So I'd have to do some more research, but I have that on hand more as a basis because I figure I'm not going to just try to print out the exact model that I bought for a replacement piece. Instead, I would probably use it as the basis and figure out how I would modify it to make it work better for my car specifically. That's my current thought. We'll see. But so there's a little bit of annoyance there. All right. Outside of that, If there's any thoughts or observations people might make on how the show's going so far and how Ken and I are feeling today, at least from my end of the spectrum, I will say that I am having to I would say rehydrate, but I really haven't been. Try to eat some food, keep my stomach full, because I am pseudo in recovery mode. I hosted a Halloween party last night, and off the top, we'll say I felt it was very successful. But I had spent this last week kind of decorating the house, getting things together, and trying to decide on how to host this event so that, everybody would have a great time. I like to have successful parties that I host. And so in doing so, lots of little things, decorations around the house, stuff I had. I think the only decoration I purchased was a new backdrop that I used up in the corner of my entryway as a selfie station. Basically, I was going to set my camera up to be there, and I had the tripod and everything up, but camera failing, I didn't. So I turned around to a selfie station where what it was is I put this big backdrop of essentially a spider web on the wall, and then I have this large plush-ish, but like kind of creepy looking brown spider that I then put above it, and like little hooks on the walls and stuff, kind of hung it up so it was hanging down below. This thing's massive, and you could basically get your group together underneath that and take a picture of yourself with the spider and in this web kind of thing. Make it spooky, make it Halloween. So that was like the only new thing I'd purchased. Everything else, it's collections of stuff I've had for years. But then kind of decorate the whole house, my whole goal being keep things kind of spooky. And, I threw up... Yeah, no, it totally was the whole theme spoopy. So one of the things I did is I have this huge plastic cauldron that I tried to make drinks in before, but it would be ridiculous. The thing's almost like more than a 5-gallon jug. It's too much. So instead what I did with it is I put my smoke machine in it and stuck it in a corner by the bathroom, and then what I would do on occasion,
that's pretty cool.
Walk over to it and I'd kick the button on and it would spray out smoke, and so you had this smoke just come billowing out of this cauldron.
That's neat.
That was actually came off pretty damn cool. And actually I liked it, but it ended up putting essentially smoke throughout the house. But I liked it because I was going for the spooky theme, and so with the lights and everything like that, it actually worked really well. I also, over most of my light fixtures, put a little black netting and stuff to make it a little dimmer, and just like trying to make the mood. So that was pretty cool. Beyond that, I also was working heavily to get all the refreshments together, and I did a thing where I made some Pinterest, I guess, style recipes. I made a meatloaf, which is actually what I have in hand here of leftovers. A meatloaf that I designed to make look like a big face, somebody's face, being eaten away kind of deal.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, which came out and everybody thought it was really good. Cut it up in little pieces, gave people toothpicks, and those got mauled. I also provided a candy apple station where it was little skewers of slices, wedges of candy of apples with warm caramel dip, and different little bowls around it of things like chocolate chips, butterscotch chips, peanut butter chips, macadamia nuts, other nuts.
You had me at warm caramel dip. Oh, man.
Yeah, so you would dip the apple in there and then roll it in one of the toppings and consume it that way. Actually came off really great. Now, the thing I went beyond, which actually I'm happy because my guests are great. I had also taken an idea where before that, the day before, you take all those wedges and soak them in a bowl of alcohol. So they become candied apple poppers, basically, or shots.
Well, not poppers, I hope.
No, not poppers, but shots. And that it went well, except that I was a little aggressive with the mixes of liquor I used. And so I went, I'll just make sure it's all clear. So I started off with vodka as a base, and I was like, well, gin and vodka are very similar, right? Let me add some gin in there as well just to fill it out, and that way it's not just one liquor. Well, and if I want these to have any impact, let me splash on some Everclear on top of that. Because why not have some 190 proof, like grain alcohol to finish it off. And so they soaked for 24 hours. And I hadn't had one first, other people did, but essentially every bite of that, people were like, whoo! Oh, that's some alcohol. Wow.
Yep. That's the light way of putting it.
Yeah, so the funny part is almost every one of the wedges I made is consumed. I think there might be like 8 or 9 left, and I'd cut a whole bag of apples up, so I got to give credit to my guests for, basically consuming as much of those as they could. They did a good job. And so did that. Had other people bring a lot of great treats also, which is fun. A lot of other like meatballs, things like that, veggie trays, all this stuff. Some great desserts that people put together. Some actual jalapeno poppers one of my friends made that were surprisingly warm and made up to look like little mummies or something, kind of wrapped around with little candy eyeballs in it. Those were great. So my friends are just so nice at contributing. So it makes the hosting a little easier. I mean, I still dropped, I think I dropped probably $300 or $400 on setting up the party, but because getting supplies, alcohol, mixers, food, all those kind of things. Now, the nice thing is
most parties here are BYOB, so you generally just do decoration.
And people will as well, but I like to have a base. And so I made my witch's brew. And honestly, I probably could have spent less, but these supplies tend to last through multiple parties. And so when I do go out and invest in it, it's investing in enough to host a couple parties, essentially. Plus, I had to buy little things like toothpicks and skewers and stuff for the little decorative kind of treats I was doing. So there's those things. But yeah, so got that all together. People came. They brought great costumes. I got mine together, and unfortunately, I think it's all upstairs. But did I tell you what I was working on before?
I've seen the Instagram posts, so I'm aware from there.
Okay, well, so for people who don't follow me on Instagram, which why aren't you? And it was my Predictably Ham page is where I was throwing it because it was costume stuff. I went after old 90s horror flick, slasher kind of horror flick. And so, because I was going with spooky, I decided to go as Candyman from the Candyman series of horror movies. Which is great because, and it's funny because I went so far as to try to learn the lore a little bit as well because I almost treated it like a cosplay, but not quite. And I was quite happy.
That's a fun way to think of it.
Well, and it's one of the challenges with doing cosplay as a normal activity is that now anytime I have an opportunity to dress up for anything, the effort I put into it's probably higher than it would have been otherwise. I realize I have the capability of making things and doing things a little more accurately than just buying something off the shelf and saying, close enough. And so, because it was a Halloween costume and not a cosplay, I decided to still somewhat make it easier. I went out looking at thrift stores and ended up picking up a coat that was kind of like a pea coat, woolen black coat that was longer than the normal, like just short or just longer than waist, like hip length ones. This one actually came down just past my knees, and actually I got it in the ladies section because when it's a costume, you just find your pieces wherever you need them. And I then went to the fabric store and picked up some faux fur and brought it all back together because if you look up Candyman for anyone, actually I can do it on the stream for those playing along since I have my reference photos that I put together every time I do this. I actually had it right there. I have a whole folder that is nothing but costume ideas and such that be it no matter what costume I end up doing. So I will put this on the screen and share it real quick. Although the screen on Windows 10, their default viewer is so junk. All right. So for those playing along, you can see here that the coat he has is essentially this. Really, it's a dark brown, but it almost comes out black depending on what you're looking at. Coat with this fur on the outside. And then the story goes that he had lost his hand before he had died back as 1800s, I think, at the time frame that he originally died. And they cut off his hand and they replaced it with a hook. So that's what's represented there. But I have several reference photos that kind of show the overall look and feel of it. And there's a difference I have to double check because he changed his coat between Candyman episodes. So the one I modeled it off was the first one, this kind of look. And the fur I have is a little more speckled, not that old shag brown carpet looking one that he has. But I ended up having to take the base coat and spray painting it brown to give it that dark tinge so it wasn't a black coat. And then figuring out how to cut it and just kind of quick pattern sew on this fur edging all the way around it. And got it all the way around the collar except for like a little top piece. Made the big extra collar that comes off the top of him. As well as the fringe at the bottom. And now the challenge is, I don't know, I have one picture that shows the real length of it. It goes down below his calves, this epic long coat. And the one I have is more to the knees. And so it's not quite as long, but it worked out pretty well. But in essence, that's what I based my costume off of and everything. So nice. I was happy with that. The other piece of it that was a big key is because of that hook. I got to try to play with technology as well, and so I modeled and 3D printed that hook myself, which I was really happy with the results of. And it was one of the first things I did, or probably second or third thing I've done in Fusion 360 all by myself, and was able to completely model it, come up with it, and have it come out not perfect, but for the effort of what I had done, I'm really happy with what it came out as. So that was a ton of fun.
Dude.
So that was my costume. Other people brought some amazing ones themselves. It was an interesting mix of my friend groups of people that showed up, because I had invited a lot of people, actually. I looked at my overall invite. It was something like 87 some people.
Oh my god.
Well, so I do this, but I also know that that was a very popular night, and therefore most of them weren't going
Half
to come.
the people wouldn't be there, yeah.
Yeah, actually even more than that. So I think of the people that I invited, you know, I got like 27 or so that said they would come and a bunch of maybes. Of the people who said they would come, I think maybe 20 of them came, and then I had maybe another, 10-ish or more people that kind of came in that are friends of mine and had heard about the party and probably were invited by others as well, but weren't necessarily directly invited by me. But it actually worked out really well, and it was a really good mix of people. There was a few people I kind of had hoped to come that didn't, but again, busy night, and I totally understand.
These things happen, dude. These things.
Yeah,
happen.
no.
But,
my only rub being that I was the first person to announce when my party was. I should have precedence.
No, that's not how people are. That's not how people choose, right?
No.
Because then we do it a year in advance. But and plus it's also convenience, and plus there's like social requirements.
Yeah,
like,
no, absolutely.
Oh, I gotta go because it's my sister's boyfriend's thing, and I haven't met her. Or yada, who knows, right?
I had no heartburn for people choosing not to go to my party. Absolutely fine.
Good.
And I had a few people that was a little surprised showed up, where I was like, "Oh snap, you actually came." People that have been because it's some people that are just busy with life normally, and so that they were able to make the time because people got some babysitters and stuff like that, and it's like sweet, so they actually showed up.
That's kind.
Yeah, no, it was cool. And so the actual selection of people that were there were pretty great. Again, the costumes they brought were a lot of fun. People tend to go all out for their costumes or do something truly fun and silly.
That's the great thing about the US. We just don't do that stuff here, man. Everybody just buys like a mask. And that's if they do that. Or they become like a slutty cat. And it either goes super slutty or nothing. I'm not talking about just girls.
Oh, yeah, no, we do that too. No, it's funny because some of the people that came to my party are some of the people from work that aren't U.S. citizens that kind of work around us, and we talked about that because it's the whole what traditions and holidays apply at what country. And I think Canada does it closest to us. And other than that, Mexico has its Day of the Dead and the kind of things it does. But it seems like most places around the country or around the world don't celebrate Halloween as significantly as the United States does. No, we are ridiculous, and it's a ton of fun. In fact,
I have a Italian office mate who was telling me, like he was asking me, he was like, "I'm confused, Ken, Why is Halloween so big here? It's disrespectful." And I was like, how's it disrespectful? And he's like, "Well, it's anti-Catholic." And I was like, "Nope, I've never heard that before. It's not anti-Catholic, buddy. No, it's not." He goes, "Oh, and it's in Italy. It's seen as an anti-Catholic thing because Halloween is supposed to be a day that you remember the dead, and you're supposed to respect them and be very respectful on that day. And that's a traditional thing.
That is not how it came across here. It comes across.
That's
here.
what I was saying. Like in the West, like no, we just don't. That original holiday isn't there to desecrate. Like we did not. Like, we've never worked. Like we've never been like looking after the dead. Like pagans used to dress up as stuff to try and like hide from the spirits of the dead. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
right?
No, the actual
Them off. Well, we've never been respecting the ancestors. Right?
Well, that is what.
It's not satanic or anything.
No, that's what the Hispanic community has around Day of the Dead, right? That is respecting the dead. And actually, if you haven't, one of the best things I've ever seen represented to that is actually Coco, the animated Pixar flick.
Such a good.
Go see that. That explains it so well in a way I'd only heard pieces of, and I actually watched it. I was like, now it makes sense. Huh. Go figure. They explained Day of the Dead better than anything else I'd ever seen. Yeah. So, it's... No, ours is very much we enjoy the... we take what was originally... And this is so many things in the U.S. here. What is so many ways what used to be either pagan or something that people did, and because it was fearing things in the past. Almost like I would equate it to what we do with old fairy tales. You know what Disney does with fairy tales? They take everything that was a grim story or something that was truly horrific in the original telling, and then makes it all kid friendly. We do that essentially with most of the holidays here, with stuff where, you know, Halloween, like I said, All Hallows End, and those celebrations were to protect yourself from the dead. It was a time frame it's often discussed where, you know, the world of whatever might be the afterlife and what we have today is probably its thinnest, right? Any boundary between the two, if you believe those kind of things could coexist or come about. And that it's an opportunity that sometimes the dead could cross over and then try to seek, you know, living people to pull back with them because they're confused about death. There's lots of stories about the reasons and such behind. And so that it was often a thing that you would, like you said, Ken, to ward off, to hide from, to avoid being challenged or hit by any of these forces, you would dress up like them or hide from them in some way so that you weren't their target. And we've taken that on above and beyond, where now we do everything with our trick-or-treating and stuff like that. We share gifts and give them out, where it used to be other kind of community things. Now it's mostly candy and for the kids to run around. And as adults, we all get plastered, have fun, and run around and be stupid. And so...
Which is fun. And that's the thing. In the West, it's not at all... It's just a fun thing now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it grew from other stuff, but it's from, you know, cultures and religions that are pretty much gone. And... no, sorry, not Hispanic. I mean, specifically, you know, Scotland.
Well, and the stuff that we're celebrating. Well, what we're celebrating on Halloween is not Day of the Dead, right? It is a different kind of celebration, and that's kind of what
it's literally different. It's just a different thing.
Yeah, it's completely different. So that's something that hopefully people understand.
Once I explained it to that guy, he was like, "Oh, okay, I understand." Like he thought that we were like equally Catholic, and we were just doing it as a sort of like rebellion against Catholicism, because that's what it's seen as by some in Italy. And this guy does come from like a more conservative culture in Italy, so I can see why he would think that.
Yes, no, absolutely can. Yeah, well, and you know, come on, once you involve religion in anything, things happen. So, but yeah, so got that. Had some wonderful costumes. Some note like that were surprising. One of my friends came as a big jack-o'-lantern. Essentially, had this massive light-up pumpkin head that was probably 3 feet plus tall. Nice. It was really well done. Had actually one of my friends that was really good. One of the cosplay friends I had that showed up. He came as Lucifer from Supernatural, and specifically when he's chained up by Crowley. And
I've seen some of that show. I don't recognize the theme.
It's much later into the seasons and such, where at first when he just was in his costume, he looked fairly regular. I was like, I know you're something. And he had these chains. I was like, okay. And then once he started putting them on, I was like, do you recognize who I am? I was like, He said, I'm Lucifer. I looked, I was like, oh, snap. You are, because it's not just like a Lucifer from a movie or something. It's like from the Supernatural series specifically.
Yeah.
And I was totally like,
nice,
awesome, got it, thank you. And just a whole variety of great, fun costumes people did. So I always appreciate that. One of the things I was saying about the foreigners that were there, my Aussies and my Canadians that came, is they took the opportunity to really dress up well, because they had commented that they've heard, maybe from my own mouth or from others, that my parties tend to bring about some good costumes, and that it's expected, like, to put a little effort into it. And so they did. They did a solid job. I had one of them come as Samara.
That's very respectful of you as well. That's
I've always had great results with this. I mean, the only people who've ever come to give me challenge were like a friend of a friend kind of thing, who were kind of doing the like, oh, I just go to drink, I don't dress up. And that's when I pull out of my little default costume bin and said, you better put something on or you're leaving. But I didn't have to do that at all. Everyone came in great costumes. One of them came as Bruce Lee from, which is the classic yellow outfit for Bruce Lee, and had some foam nunchucks and such. And apparently his wife had done all the sewing for the costume, so it wasn't one they purchased. In fact, I don't know if any of theirs were ones they purchased. One gentleman that came, that was a different gentleman from work. He wasn't one of the foreigners. He came in a gorilla suit. It was funny because his wife came as a banana. So the two of them, just again, fun matches. No comment. But yeah, just really good costumes. Like everybody across the board. There was a Gandalf that came that had one of the most amazing stabs I'd have ever seen. It was one that was gifted to him from someone else, and I picked it up, and I was like, this thing feels like it's made of like lead. Like it's a big pipe or something, but it's so well adorned. But I feel like it's thicker and sturdier than like my staff that I have for martial arts. that is a weapon. This thing, I was like, this is ridiculous, right? That's just, again, so
I love it.
So many good costumes. So shout out to all my guests who came for bringing some booze, like they brought beers and stuff to share. For the people who brought, donated basically liquors to my house. I got some more of like my rum. I got 2 rums last night that were gifts to me. I got a mead. I got a wine. I got, none of these were cracked because I had made this big batch of witch's brew, which I'm drinking right now. And so this is all things that were just donated, one for me throwing a party and everybody really being appreciative of it. People came, they played.
That's awesome.
We didn't do Cards Against Humanity this time. We did Cyanide and Happiness, their joking hazard game. I had Betrayal out, but by the time some friends came, it was already put away. Otherwise, I know they would have played. And then we played some Rock Band. One of my friends brought a Switch, and so played some Mario Kart, stuff like that. And a lot of people just basically hanging around, drinking, socializing, having a good time. So that was essentially my Halloween party, and really thought it went well. So yeah, it was good. Oh, that I like that, Hando. In the chat, as I'm talking about Halloween, and I would love to hear if any of you guys went to any Halloween parties and stuff like that, because Halloween's one of my jams. I actually feel a little off this year in season because I've only been celebrating for like this week. Normally, from come October 1st, things go out.
You and Kitten are so similar that way. She's the exact same. She needs to celebrate Halloween for a whole month.
It is why I appreciate whenever I see her start posting costume stuff, and like whenever she's worked and had the opportunity to wear costumes to work and things like that, I've always been like, that's so awesome.
Yeah, they're doing a Halloween bake sale this year, and I'm sure she's gonna go all out and blow everybody else out the water with her costume and everything else.
I love that, and it's something where, admittedly, even when I was married, one of the things I have to give credit to my ex-wife about was she was super creative and into Halloween. So even though she didn't cosplay type thing, wasn't any of that because just didn't get around it in time. Loved costuming for Halloween, still does. Talked to her just recently. In fact, she commissioned me to print her son a Fortnite mask that I 3D printed him. Hopefully it got it to work fit just right because he was super excited when he got it. Things like that. So, but one of the things I love out there, and it seems like around our community, people are real big fans of Halloween. I mean, I'm pretty sure Roxy's a huge fan. I know that. I know. I'm looking at that stuff. Well, one of the things I wanted to comment to what Copy was saying, oh my god, Hannah, that's brilliant, was his comment that said, one of these days I might want to make my ultimate Halloween costume Ernest Borg 7 of 9.
I love it. That's awesome.
For Ernest Borg 9. Essentially, if I say that right after reading that. I love punny costumes. Like, I adore pun costumes. Ones that are especially blending 2 or 3 different ideas or things together and have it kind of end up being the one, like one costume. I'm trying to remember some of the ones I'd seen because I see them at conventions all the time. But, I commented multiple times about the Stranger Things, the Doctor Stranger Things, where Doctor Strange / Levin from Stranger Things mixed together into a costume. One of my favorite ones I've seen recently. So yeah, that'd be wonderful. I need to come up with a punny one at some point. Gosh, that'd be great. But yeah, no, there's just something about Halloween's wonderful. I'd love to hear your guys' stories about Halloween. Feel free to email in. We will read some after the break here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to email in
this year, tell us any funny stories about Halloween.
What
are you doing for work?
Anything you've already done, anything you're about to do, your favorite Halloween even decoration you maybe own. Something like that. Because I had one that was brought up for me, and I should really showcase on the show again. I'm sure I've talked about years ago, which is my rat. My big black stuffed fake rat thing that I had that used to be a pair until one was stolen about 8 or 10 years ago. Actually, God, it's longer than that now because of my old house. So that was stolen back in 2004-ish or something like that, I think.
That's a bit more than 10 years. Yeah, that's more.
Yeah, well, I had to go back to when did I move into this house? So 2004, 2003, somewhere in there. It was stolen. It's twin. And then someone came to my party 3 years ago or something, saw it and was like, holy crap, I have one. I said literally that rat's so crazy. I remember stealing one of those from a party one time.
Oh my God.
I looked at this gal and my eyes got big and I was like, you! And she was just like, what? I was like, you stole my rat! It was wonderful. It was in a way closure. It was actually kind of like closure on that.
Lucky she got out alive, to be honest.
Oh no, I just laughed about it because I was like, it'd been so long at that point. I just accepted.
Yeah,
but I'd
these
always
things
never
happen,
known
yeah.
like if we had just misplaced that rat after that party, because we'd only used it 2 or 3 times, and I was like, man, what happened to that rat? And both my ex and I were kind of just looking around like, I don't know whatever happened. Then we moved and we never saw it again, and so we're just confused. And so it brought closure. Like, okay, I didn't lose it. It was flippin' stolen. Got it. But
Not
no,
surprising.
that was
You can't-
hilarious.
How would you lose something so big, right?
Exactly. Well, and I have it sitting up on one of my ends of one of my couches, and it's just ratty in its own way. Not to be fun there, but
Funny.
it's just broken down to the point where it's been ripped up and stored, and it's like this cheap vinyl outside skin to it that has been pulled apart so many ways that I have now been going back and fixing it by repairing with Gorilla Tape, like black Gorilla Tape, and most of it is now taped back together. So from afar it looks ish correct, but as you get close it looks like it's almost mummified. But at the same time I'm trying everything I can to keep it alive because I love this thing. But that's like one of my favorite Halloween props that I own. So like I said, I'd be very curious to hear what some of yours are, some of your favorite traditions or things to do during this holiday season. Do you like to go to haunted houses? Do you watch scary movies? One of the things I normally would do but haven't this year, partly because of how I'm set up right now, still in the basement, is stream scary games or something. And if I get my
this year at some point.
yeah, if I get my arse up and get my computer upstairs this week before, my challenge is I need to fix some of the lights in that room, otherwise I'm sitting in a cave. I like to play and stream scary games on Halloween while I wait for kids to come to the door for candy, and then I will run over and answer the door and stuff like that. And if I do it right this year, I may stream my front door camera as well.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that-
you did that before, right?
Yeah, so that when I scare the kids, everyone else can see it. And I really was tempted. I need to get a new mask. I really do, because I've had now at least 3 years in a row some kid come up and be like, "Oh, this house. No, we love your house because you scare us," but I always have the same outfit. So I need to do something that's a little creepier, even though I have a really good mask. Which
Just
was
one
one.
that just, like falls down from above or something. That'd be cool to watch
Well,
on camera.
so one time what I had done when I had a night that I was just kind of hanging out is I actually sat on my porch swing in the costume.
I remember
And
this one. Yeah.
and I sat there and just kind of like laid there the whole time, and I just wait for kids to come up, let them ring the doorbell. They'd look at me and kind of like, "Oh no, it's just a mannequin or something." They'd look at me and they'd ring the doorbell, and I'd wait for a moment, and then I'd jump up and be like, "What do you want?" They just piss themselves.
Either run or laugh. Yeah.
It was so good. So I'm afraid that I'm just getting to a point where I may be, it may be played, right? It may be it's too predictable, and so I want to try to maybe adjust it in some way. I don't know. I'll figure something out, some point. So yeah. It'll be good. But yeah, so I would love to hear from all of you. Just email us at showx@vtwproduction.com. And after we take a break here in a moment, we will hear your stories about what kind of things you want to do or have done, or things about Halloween, because I do love all those details of how other people enjoy the holiday. But with that, any other words for you, Ken, as I am going to go look for an appropriate song to play during the break. Something hopefully spooky. We'll see what I can find.
No, I think that's everything from me until the next thing. Oh, maybe I had one more thing. What was it? I can't remember. I had something I was going to say about my non-geek cred stuff I've been up to, but I've forgotten it again. So, I went out for a night out for my buddy's leaving do and got ridiculously drunk on Thursday night. Yeah, I went out and had like a liter of no, it wasn't a whole liter. I had a lot of vodka.
Nice.
And it wasn't so much the quantity; it was more the speed at which we did it, because we started playing drinking games.
Yes.
We played Ride the Bus twice, and we played Kings, also known as Ring of Fire, once. So those, and that was with, like, when we got there, we just started suddenly doing shots of vodka and stuff. It was just ridiculous.
Woo!
But the thing is, I wouldn't have been so bad. But the Italian guy I was telling you about, actually, he was there, and he'd only ever had like a beer or two in his life.
What?
So, and he was drinking with, like, some of the guys there were like Scottish and worse than me, right? Like for me, I'm kind of like, hey, well, let's drink a lot if you want to. If not, that's fine too. I'm really chill about these things, right? Like, I'm not gonna call somebody a pussy or anything for not drinking the amount that I think they should or anything.
Yeah.
But these guys were literally doing that. They were like screaming, "Pussy, you're a pussy," for not constantly doing vodka shots. And I was like, dude, people need to start from somewhere. They don't just get to that stage of alcoholism straight away. So
that's fun.
Let's just slow down. But the guy who actually did that ended up dropping his glass just outside the flat we were at, and then he fell over, thankfully missing the glass. And it was just a total fanny. But we had a good time though. It was really fun, and the reason I had to drink more is because quite a lot of time I would drink that guy's drink. So
that he didn't have to consume it all.
Yeah, like he'd be given a shot, and like the guys would stop paying attention, and he'd be sitting there, and I'd look at him, and he'd be like, and he'd look at me, and I'd be like, "Do you want me to take that for you?" And he'd be like,
save me.
And it was so funny actually. He said to me, and it was kind of a sexist comment. He said to me, I guess. Now I think about it.
Okay.
He said, "Ken, do I drink worse than the girls of your country?" And I was like, yes, you do. But that's again, it's nothing to do with gender.
Well, okay, no.
Culture,
it is.
right?
It is two pieces of things, right? It is generally women tend to be smaller, and so their bodies, for every drink they drink, tend to consume a higher percentage of alcohol. Truth.
Sure.
Separately from that, he was basing on two pieces of that. That was step one. Step two is Scottish, and therefore naturally disposed to being able to consume and process mass amounts of alcohol before causing it to become a negative impact. And so
what I should have said is, am I worse than most of the Scottish people that you've seen in terms of drinking? Like, you didn't need to specifically specify women. That was
we do not need to be so PC as to worry about that. We all know what it meant.
To be fair, I'm probably nitpicking because the guy's a bit sexist at work. Like I know.
Okay,
I know
that makes it different if it's something that becomes more of an actual.
I say at work, we shouldn't, so you just shouldn't. But
gotcha. You've seen him in other environments where that was still the case.
Yeah, he said specifically he doesn't believe that women can do maths, and he's surprised that they're a professional.
Okay, never mind. I will stop defending him in any way because that's some dumb shit. Crap.
So when you see somebody being an asshole and they do the slightest thing, you're like, see, he's an asshole, and everybody else is like, that's a minor thing. What are you talking about? And like, you don't know.
Oh, comments about people I've had to deal with. Yes. It's like,
why am I the
only one? Yeah, why am I the only one who knows how much of a... I was about to use one of your country's favorite expletives.
Australian one, yeah.
Yeah, you felt what was coming on that one, right?
I knew it. I could sense it in my bones.
Oh, gosh, it felt so natural to want to say that on air right now, but no. Yeah. So, anyhow, with that, we're going to take a break. I'm going to play our good friend Leo, but one of his takes on a not necessarily Halloween specific, but kind of that movie themed kind of interaction. So we'll see what you guys all think. So this is coming from Leo. We'll be back right after this break. Please take a moment if you have some stories and email us in at showx@vtwproductions.com. We would love to hear it. And with that, I don't think I need to refresh anything. I think I'm going to keep sitting here, eat some more of my meatloaf, and drink some more of my witch's brew, which I will describe after the break as well, so you can just understand what level of wrecked I'm getting. But, all right, we'll be back right after this.
I'm going to go get a drink as well, then. I'll get a drink.
All right, sir. Then with that, we'll be back in about 3.5 minutes, everybody. Bye.
Send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com.
Something weird and it don't look good. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. I'm afraid of no ghosts. I'm afraid of no ghosts. Seeing things running through your head. feel like girls. Woo! I ain't afraid of the ghost. Yeah, 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 yeah. Who gonna call Ghostbusters? If you had a dose of a freaky ghost, baby, you better call Ghostbusters.
You're listening to Show X on btwproductions.com.
Thank you, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I actually forgot how good that one is. I was rocking out a bit during the break in that one for anyone watching. Still, I was like, yeah! Leo is so good. So, and before the break, as I said, I've been drinking my witch's brew, which, essentially another Pinterest idea for the most part. I wanted to make something that looked blackish as a drink. To go along with the cauldron I had, and so it was really basic. It was essentially taking two types of Kool-Aid, unsweetened. I forget what the original ones were. I ended up grabbing a black cherry and an orange and putting them together, and I did it 2 parts black cherry for 1 part orange, and then mixing it with ginger ale as the overall mixer, and then just adding whatever liquor you want with that. And for mine, I did basically same combination I soaked the apples in. Mostly Everclear with then some gin and vodka on top of it, which makes for a
minus the gin.
Potent drink. So the fun part is, altogether, most people commented that it tastes like High C, like just a kid's fruity drink.
Wow, okay.
So it actually came out really nice. You do not feel or taste the alcohol in it really much at all. But what was really cool about it, and I wish I'd designed a lighting effect for it more specifically, is it with my overhead lights in the kitchen shining down on it. It had this blood orange kind of color to it, where it's a deep red with that little hint of orange. And because of the way the soda was in it, it also had a sparkle to it, like it would slightly fizz and just move about, and so you could actually see it shimmering in a way. So it had this beautiful effect to it. It came across really well. And I made a whole cauldron of the stuff, and most of it or more than half of it got consumed. And
so you've got some left over as well. That's even better.
Yes, which I put into another pitcher, so I'll be able to drink off that for some time. In fact, it's funny, El Campo and his wife and daughter all came last night, and I mentioned this to him today because he's about to watch some of that, American foosball that's going on today, and he mentioned, he was like, "Oh, if you got leftovers, you can bring it over." And initially I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "Well, I could, but I'm going to be playing WoW after the show or something." But then I was kind of like, that might be a good idea because I have way too much to keep here and consume over a couple weeks or something. That would make me feel a little alcoholic-like. I get
that. I get that.
I mean, already finishing just a cup of this, and I've actually cut most of it with more Mountain Dew to give me some caffeine. Because again, I have no idea how long I slept last night. I'm feeling it just a little bit like woo.
You just reminded me of the thing I wanted to say. That was just before the break. So I mentioned to you before the show that I'm also tired, and I said I'd explain during the.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So I was saying to Wayne that I was tired before the show, and I said I'd explain during the show, and I haven't because I forgot. But I got terrible sleep last night, and it's because of a couple of reasons. All of them are Kitten is to blame. I woke up Like I was asleep, but I remember vaguely turning around, like you know when you wake up kind of slightly to move yourself in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
like,
just to adjust.
And you're sort of like pseudo awake. You're like 15% more awake than you were before, right? And you just to turn, and then you go back to sleep straight away. Well, I turned around slightly, and then she shouts out, "Skeletons!"
What?
And I was like, well, I was like, "Are you okay?" And she sits up, and we have a full conversation for about 10 seconds of.
Oh no!
I say, "Were you having a bad dream?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, are you okay now?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, I think so." I'm like, "Okay, well, go out to sleep." She's like, And she lies back down, and then she starts doing this thing where she starts going, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And then she goes, "Oh," and I'm like, "Are you awake?" She's like, "Yeah, I am now. I'm awake. I'm awake." I was like, "Do you remember what just happened?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, it was like Inception. It's like first of all, she had a random point where she said skeletons, and then she did that conversation with me where it seemed like she just woke up. Then she actually woke up and had no idea what happened beforehand.
Oh
it was
boy!
Just so weird. And then for the next hour or so, she kept tossing and turning, and she kept like saying out loud, "Oh, I can't sleep." And I started saying things to her like, "Oh, well, go get a drink, or like try harder, or play on your phone for a bit." Or,
yeah, something.
I gave random advice, right? Whatever. I was half asleep, and I told her this morning. I was like, "How come you were like tossing and turning and talking all last night as well as the outburst?"
And
like,
she didn't remember.
I slept fine. Now what are you talking about? Like, you were sleep talking, telling me you couldn't sleep. You dick. So I had a crappy sleep because I was trying to give her advice and stuff for her to sleep when she was asleep.
Oh no! Oh no!
But to be fair, I'm usually the one that does this.
Okay.
Like, I'm really, really bad for sleepwalking, sleep talking. Sleep seeing shadow monsters, which I never remember when I wake up, but I like describe in detail creepy stuff around us. Yeah, I'm a total creep in the middle of the night.
Oh wow!
Creep. So yeah, but I've not done it for a while now. Though I've not been too bad. And whenever something does happen, I usually like once I wake up, which is usually after like 4 or 5 seconds of it happening.
Okay.
It's like wake up. I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's happened again, isn't it? I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm gonna sleep," and then that's that.
Oh.
But at least it doesn't go on like this one did. It was funny though. It was pretty funny. I enjoyed the laugh I got out of it.
Gotcha. Oh gosh. That's entertaining.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's entertaining. Well, you did. You're like you said. As I was talking about not knowing what my sleep was. Essentially, mine was based off. At some point, everybody left the party, right? I had 4 of us that were staying up the latest and were the last to leave. The last time I had looked at the clock, it was like 12:30 something, almost 1. Not terribly late, to say, but I don't remember when that was in the party.
Okay.
Like it might have been when I was on my computer down here. At some point, I had people here in the basement, and because I was trying to show one individual was asking, had heard my man cave and LAN parties and all this, was showing him it, and somehow everyone else came down. I think it was something where I jokingly was saying something about dance parties down here. I was like, really? And I turned on my stereo and showed how loud it could get, and which meant everyone upstairs could hear it. And
I think your house is unterraced.
Meaning?
Not attached to another house.
No. I have my own space, which is nice. So yeah, now granted the windows are open upstairs, but on a weekend and a night like this, most of my neighbors I think are fine. And I've listened outside before when I've had things cranked, and it's not too bad unless it's like upstairs, and the windows are open. So down here not so bad, but you can still kind of hear the little thump happening. Anyhow, they were all like, and suddenly like almost the entire party was downstairs, which is not good because I have it still set up for crafting because I had just been working on my costume for Halloween. Sure. And so it really wasn't designed for having people down here. Like I was thinking about clearing out, setting up my Oculus or something, but had not done any of that. So it ended up we were all down here, and I was, all right, we're now having a dance party where I'm DJing. So I started queuing up music and playing some stuff and introduced them to like Die Antwoord and some other silliness and just fun. But yeah, it was kind of a random thing that happened down here all of a sudden. Anyhow, as we go up there and I look and say, I have not received an email, any of you guys, over the break. Darn it. Why you do this? Why you do this? I want to know your geek cred.
It's
I want to know your
okay.
Halloween
They
cred.
just don't care about
Well,
us.
we get a little bit in the chat and appreciate it. And Roxy's like commenting
Yeah, we've
that
got really active chat. Yeah.
me mixing, the Everclear saying gasoline. Well, yeah, but it means it's price for performance. You don't need as much to get people really loopy. And I definitely got some people who were feeling it in a good way. In fact, what was it? Like Campo, he and his wife brought Jello shots that were apple shots. And part of the reason was that they cosplayed or costumed as Adam and Eve. They got these great, just like pullover shirts, whatever, that were a guy and a girl, like scantily clad, drawn on it. And Campo was Eve, and his wife was Adam. And so
Cool.
he was walking around with the apple Jello shots to tempt everyone. Haha.
Okay, I love it. I love it.
It actually was great. It was absolutely great. Then a lot of people were just killing their beers. One of my friends came as a kind of default MAGA person.
Oh my god. Okay, that's an edgy one.
Well, no, it was great
In the
because
US.
he came. Hillbillies could be like put on, because he has almost no hair, but put on like a long mullet-looking wig, wore a MAGA cap, and I mean he's a conservative guy anyways, but he played it up where he also brought a 6-pack
Oh, that's
of
good.
Pabst Blue Ribbon, which is like the cheap piss beer here. And he actually borrowed from me a carabiner to hook it to his belt, so he was just walking around with like the 6-pack.
God. I think we have that here actually. That same beer.
Oh yeah, Pabst is so silly. Well, we also had one of the foreigners came as Donald Trump.
Oh, okay.
And looked surprisingly good. Like, wow. And I didn't ask how he got his skin that color, but it worked well. It was entertaining.
Okay.
Like just the fact that he kind of caught the persona that was there, not even acting a fool really, because just making it look the part. And so that to me was
Nice.
really entertaining. Again,
Oh, that sounds like a
people in
pretty
their
scary
costumes.
costume.
It was a fun one. It did well. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Where's yours? It says, oh, yeah. So, yeah, but Roxy, you're doing that on social media, not in the link here for everyone to see. Roxy shared with me a old picture on social media that essentially showed a whole group of her and friends, I'm assuming, dressed as the Power Rangers, and specifically with like the dinosaur-centered symbols on theirs. And it's actually really good, like surprisingly good costumes. It's funny to me though, because this also highlights to me how young a lot of our viewers are compared to me, more your age, Ken. Because that age, because I'm guessing she might have been, gosh, 7 or 8 years old in that picture. I could be wrong, but that to have those Power Rangers be what was the equivalent at that age. I was like, Power Rangers were big when I was going into like the military.
No, that was my childhood, my very early childhood.
Yeah, so something in that effect. So, but nah, it's good. So, well, and I would show it, Rox, except that I would show all the Facebook details as well, unless I like download or such. But that's all right. So that was the picture that she shared for Geek Cred about Halloween and an old costume, which I do like. Now, the question I'd throw out there, is that one of your favorite costumes, or just one that was memorable that you had a picture of kind of thing? Because I also have, like, even with my cosplay, some of the things I consider like my favorite ones, just because they're either the most fun to actually dress up in and to act as the character, versus some that are just because I love that character as a whole or look of them or something like that. So I'm always curious what causes people to love the ones that they have. So, but thank you for linking that to me, Roxy. I appreciate it. But yeah, I was looking to see if we had any more actual things into the email box. I don't see any. So with that, I think it is appropriate for us to look at and say,
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek cred, level up!
and actually get to look in there and talk about some geek cred. And Roxy's continuing the IRC or the chat saying, super memorable. We had another kid that wandered with us that was the black one. So we'd trick or treat, and whenever the door was answered, we'd all strike the appropriate pose. Now, I do love that. I love when the whole group gets into it and actually plays a part. To me, that tickles it.
Following the PC thing tonight, she's talking with a black Power Ranger not just the black one, which standalone sounds really bad.
What? She had a black one.
Yeah, the black one.
Yeah, right?
That's an acceptable thing to say.
People understand the reference, or should. There were multiple Power Rangers. Come on now. But thank you for making it clear, Ken.
I just forgot it was Power Rangers related, so when I read it, I was like, oh wait, I'm being... And so I was just reminding.
Yes.
You never know who's going to jump in the chat and then hear that. And,
at the totally appropriate time.
Yeah, that's how it always happens.
Oh, shoot. But yes. So that's great. See, it's funny. I think back to other Halloween stuff that I've done. Probably, it's weird because I don't remember the trick-or-treating aspect of it. I just remember back in the day, a costume my mother made for me way back when, which was that of a big jack-o'-lantern. And all I remember was that she somehow made it sewed out so it was this big round thing that was actually the right shape. And to get it shaped like that, we rolled up and like balled up a bunch of newspaper and stuffed it around me in the costume.
Oh, that's so
and
sweet.
I might have been 7 or 8 years old, but that's like one of the only like old costume memories I have of something like that. And I don't believe I have any pictures or haven't seen any since. They may be in a box somewhere in my parents, and when I go back as they're starting to get ready to get rid of stuff, maybe I'll find it, but I don't think I've ever seen it since. But I do remember distinctly having that costume once. So that was fun.
That's adorable.
Let's see. All right. So with that, as we get into geek cred here, Ken, what have you been doing that's been more geek this week?
So when I've had a chance to actually sit and do nothing for an hour or two, which hasn't been that much, I've been playing Stellaris.
Oh, okay.
Actually, somebody messaged me from my work the other day saying, "Oh my god, you've been playing that game all day! Like you've been on for like 18 hours." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I left it running. Like obviously, I'm not obviously playing for 18 hours straight. Like come on, I wish I could, but I'm not." But yeah, I've been enjoying playing Stellaris. I just got a bit sick of playing only one game, and so I decided to actually do something else. And so I've been playing Stellaris, and I've been tempted by some of the DLC because there's some that I haven't got yet. However, the DLC's got mixed reviews on Steam, so I'm like, oh, what if it? Like, I really love Stellaris as it is. What if I install the DLC and it ruins the base game or something? Because apparently some of it does change how the game like plays out and what you need to do towards the end game and stuff. So I'm not sure. But Stellaris is very much like Civ in the sense that you sit down to play for 10 minutes and it's 3 days later, and you're like, oops. I actually picked up a game that I'd been playing a few weeks ago, and I got to I'd say the start of the end game, which is a good like 15 hours in, right? Or if not more. And I was really enjoying it. I was playing the human species, so that was kind of like the nice species.
Okay.
This one neighbor of mine was being a total douche hat, though, a douche canoe.
Okay.
And so I went full on like militaristic war mode for like a good 3 hours, and I basically reduced him down to he had a bigger civilization than me at one point. Like he had something like 27 star systems, and I had 19.
Okay.
By the time I'd finished with him, I was on like 58, and he was on 3. So I not only destroyed his, but I absorbed them as well. I was like, "You are mine. I will annihilate you." Like I just put all my research in the military, and I just like it's same as Civ, right? Like if you put all your focus in the research. When you need to, you can just build a huge army, and that's what I did, and I just took the guy down. But as I was just about to wipe him out, and I was looking forward to it because I hated his smug little face, smug alien face. He kept saying stuff like, "Oh, you don't have a chance against my armies." I'm like, I just like took out 95% of your population. I'm occupying all the rest of your worlds. What are you talking about? But I ended up just absolutely wrecking him to that extent. And then the end game situation happened, and with the DLC I have anyway, the end game is that there's these other like species in the universe who start off with an advanced civilization, like they're already further ahead than you.
Okay.
And there are also a couple that are fallen empires, which means that they've got this tiny little like few star systems, and they're kind of quiet. But whenever you like inspect them, you see that they're extremely powerful. They've unlocked all the research. And they usually have like armies and star fleets that are, insanely powerful, almost godlike. So you're like, okay, well, that's interesting. What's a fallen empire? I realized one of them I could talk to, and like barter with, and they never were interested in anything. And they saw me as just like an insect, I think, even though I was like the biggest thing in the universe at the time. But they also kept offering to get me to sign this peace treaty where basically I'd have to never fight.
Oh.
And I was like, but they'd protect me, they said, against any external forces. And I was like, pretty tempting. I don't really want to become your vassal. I'm so powerful. I'm not afraid of anything else in the universe at this stage. So that seems useless to me. Then the end game happened.
Oh, no.
Basically, one of the other fallen empires on the opposite side of the entire universal map messaged everybody in the game and said, hey, we've awoken. We noticed that this other fallen empire that's our old rival's also here, and we are going to go to war with them. We recommend you side with us, and if you don't, we will eliminate you. So I was like, I could side with these guys, but they sound pretty evil, and I did want to go the nice, peaceful route, except for this one guy.
Yeah.
So I was tempted to go the evil route, because I was like, that would allow me to exterminate this one guy, right? I could still do it and feel good about that. But then again, I was right next to this other neighbor who was the other fallen empire who was really powerful, so I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. So I ended up signing with the good guys, gave up my quest for conquest on this alien nation, and I was like, okay, fine, because these guys, I know they're really powerful and they're really close to me, so I'm sure it'll be fine. So as soon as I hit like accept on them, this huge enemy empire from the opposite side of the universe, turns out they had like a wormhole that is connected directly right next to my universe.
Okay.
Territory that I hadn't been to yet, so I didn't know. And they just started flooding in right next to my all my star systems.
Oh no!
And so I know you don't understand what these these numbers, right? So they had my biggest fleet when I had combined all of my fleets into one big one. Effectively, it was 57,000 in power, right? 57,000. Each of their fleets was 100,000. So all my fleets together couldn't take down one of their mini ones.
Wow.
And I looked online at this stage. I was like, surely this isn't right, because they're just destroying all my star systems. They're just like wrecking me, like completely and utterly. And it turned out that basically, even though I was wrecking the universe and I felt like I didn't need to upgrade my fleet anymore because I was already the most powerful thing in the universe, more or less. Turns out that according to online, like I should have known that this is the end game and I should have been ready for it. So it's my own fault. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stop playing now. So I never finished that game. I just closed and deleted the save because I was like, it's not fun anymore, right? I was doing so well, so proud of my progress, and these guys were just steamrolling me. I had no chance, and my new powerful neighbors were not helping. They were just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, even though they promised to help me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how far I got in Stellaris this week, and that was quite enjoyable. I really do like that game. It's good fun, and I'm gonna go back to it. And I'm actually in there just now, screwing around while we do the show. So other than that, I've watched a couple things. Hill House, that horror TV show on Netflix. I want to talk a little more about that. It is so good, man. Like anybody who's interested in something Halloween-y, something that's not even a movie length. Like it's episodic, so you can watch an hour at a time. But the way that they've done it, there was one episode, I think it's episode 6, episode 7. They have this one scene that's about 15 minutes long, and it looks like they don't once cut the camera. Like the actors are all just moving in and out of different scenes and coming in as they go.
Oh, nice!
And it's just this one really long flowing scene, and it's got some parts that are kind of like sad, and it's got some parts that are really emotional, epic discussions. Then they've got some where there's like a creepy thing in the background and you sort of notice it. And then there's some that are just full on crazy stuff going on. And I'm like, this is all one cut. It was just so beautiful to watch.
Nice.
I've had a couple scenes like that. I'm like, this is kind of almost artistic. The way they've done this it's impressive. Like I'm actually sitting here enjoying the show for not just being, the same. It's like the director was like, I want to show off my talent and skills here. And wasn't just like, let's just do this the same as we do in everything ever. It's really enjoyable. So if anybody's interested, Hill House is a really great show. Anybody who's been watching it, tell us what you think. If you watch it in the next week before Halloween or whatever, tell us what you think because I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to finishing it. I also watched episode 1 of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh yeah. So what do you think of that? Because I just started seeing like the overall previews, ads, stuff like that for it, that it hit Netflix and kind of the stuff about it, but I hadn't actually clicked on it yet because I had stuff playing as I was cleaning yesterday, but I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't want to click into that one and not pay attention.
Sure. So it's something that I was expecting to be. I don't know what I really thought actually. I wasn't sure what to expect because it was in the trailer. It looks quite dark. But I used to watch Sabrina when I was a kid, right?
And it was not.
Yeah, it's not dark. It's there's a couple parts where it's kind of dark, hints at dark stuff. But that was it. Like I don't know if you recall Salem the cat. In the original series, he's like this comedic character who's just amusing and gives some advice. Sometimes it's bad advice. But the running gag is that he's like this really evil, powerful warlock.
Yeah, that's then captured in the body of
trapped. Yeah, who's trapped in this body of a cat, and so sometimes gives bad advice, but it's usually humorous. But clearly did some evil stuff as well, and tried to rule nations and stuff. So Salem is in the new series, but it doesn't even talk so far, and apparently doesn't talk ever. So that was kind of a little sad because I was kind of hoping that he'd be the comedic relief of the show. So the first episode, I enjoyed it, but it feels like it's not something you don't want to compare it to the original Sabrina because it feels like it's in a different entity entirely.
Okay.
It's a different genre, different actors, different actresses. The story is massively different. It's way more occult. It's way more satanic. There's a lot more blood and gore in it. I think it's a 13+, which is funny because one of the scenes in the first episode, somebody gets a pair of scissors stuck in their neck and blood spurts everywhere.
That's appropriate.
Like, that's pretty gruesome.
I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. But I'm quite enjoying it so far. Harvey Kinkle, as always, is a so that's good. But so far it's enjoyable, but it's not the same as what I expected. So don't go in if you love Sabrina. Don't go in expecting for the original series 2.0.
Well, so it's
just a completely different take.
Yeah, interesting because when I first looked at just the previews, my initial thought was it was I thought it was a remake of Buffy. When I first just saw the feel of it, the look and feel, not knowing.
So let me Google it right now to make sure. Yeah, there's actually quite a few articles saying the same thing. Could Chilling Adventures of Sabrina be this generation's Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Interesting.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of people say this. That's Radio Times who says that in one of their articles. But it's and Melissa Joan Hart, the original actress.
Does she have a part?
No, she doesn't. But apparently, she's complaining about it or something.
Oh, okay, shucks.
Oh my god, she went crazy though. Did you know that?
I had seen things here and there because I really haven't heard from her in quite some time.
I'll try to find it. I don't see it anywhere. I can't remember what she did. She joined a cult or something mental. Like that.
Scientology.
Or like crazy Christian, like super Christian.
Gotcha.
So I don't know, but anyway, so yeah, watch the show if you're interested in something to watch. But Hill House is obviously my number one. Really do recommend.
Nice.
Sabrina's something that I'm going to watch, but it's on a bit of a back.
Well, and Tabby's saying that Tabaxian in the chat was saying give it a few episodes. That apparently says watched all of it.
Okay, and you enjoyed it after watching a couple episodes. That's good to hear. Oh, so he says he talks when he first comes to her. All right, okay. Well, I imagine that the fans will be crying to talk, right? So I'm sure it will eventually happen, if not this series, then the next or something.
Well, they're gonna have some things that are the classic, right? What everyone expects to see. Just even if it's more a nod than it is the exact same interpretation. And so, cool.
Yeah. And lastly, this is a slight spoiler, but it's really the first episode, so I don't feel like it's a major spoiler. But I've warned you, so nobody can complain. I also felt like it was a bit strange because it seems like a lot of the characters who are really, chill and nice and just guide, like Zelda and Hilda were just sort of like guides for her and, support her emotionally. And Sabrina always came first in the original series. In this one, they seem pretty occult evil. And that's a bit
much more witch.
Yeah, much more witch.
Interesting.
Which is just strange. It seems like witchiness, is so far as it's presented, is not something that can be good. So I look forward. Hopefully, that's one of the themes and something that progresses, and Sabrina makes that a thing because she's a half witch.
Well, as I say, that could be the way they're going to play out the overall long-term story plot line or whatever for this one. That makes sense. But it'll be interesting to see based on what you're telling me. I'm curious. So
Absolutely.
nice.
I think that's all I have to say with my geek cred. this
Okay.
week. So yeah.
Well, with that, on to mine, in a sense, is look to see. Nope, no emails yet. All right. So, as you were talking about catching series and such, I had a few that I've gone through. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was how the local group here, or just online group, social media group, celebrated Mr. Butcher's birthday this past week.
I saw that. Really funny.
Yes, for those who don't know, his birthday was recent, and it came out from his wife in a post the night before basically saying, "Hey, every one of our mutual friends, in order to troll Jim on his birthday, what I'd like you to do is all get together and take a selfie of yourself in the theme of Jim Butcher." And what it was based on, if anyone has seen any of his books, the jacket cover photo that he has for most things, and it's an older picture, but has him sitting, I don't know what the right term would be for the look on his face, but he's basically sitting there with a hand under his chin, kind of giving a somewhat serious look with a single eyebrow cocked up, and kind of just boom, looking through his glasses. And so she asked for everybody to basically recreate that image and not post it on his page or do anything like that, but to make it their profile picture on social media. And then to put a hashtag in there, which was "Don't Butcher It," all in one word, which you can maybe go find if you're on Facebook and can see if that comes up with any of the photos that we have. But there was a whole slew of people, and so when Jim woke up that morning, he looked at it all, was like, "What?" And the comment that he put back was and I forget the Muppet, I think it was, or it's either Sesame Street, I think it's a Muppet though, character that comes in, just looks real quick and says, "You are all weirdos." But he was very appreciative of the effort and kind of the shenanigans of what we had all done to help him celebrate his birthday. So just want to throw that out there because that was fun.
Really,
no, and it was in a endearing way. So it was funny because you looked it up and there were so many people who had switched this, and some had gone so simple as to, like, some of the gals, it was great, took some of their hair and pulled it across to make it look kind of like his mustache that he had at the time.
That's funny.
And and anyone who had glasses, if they could. Some people like draped a towel over their dog to kind of make it the long feathery looking hair that he had, or the long hair and such. So there were some really fun ones done. I actually went out of my way to try to mimic it as closely as I could. And so I had grabbed a pair of glasses in the house, and I probably took a good dozen photos, adjusting it slightly each time to get just that look. Like his hand was just like this, and kind of took it to that cosplay level of trying to get accuracy.
Perfection.
Yeah, so I was actually pretty happy with the results I came up with, but that was fun. Separately from that, as we were talking about things we've watched and such, I have gone through a slew, or I've actually gotten through and finished several series, and have one that I'm currently, or one or two that I'm currently going through. Still making my way through Supernatural, enjoying that. It's, season 13 I think I'm on now? Whatever I think the latest one on Netflix is. I'm finally up to that. More recently, though, I finished all of season 3, and so the entire series for My Hero Academia, the anime that I quite enjoyed. I can understand why people got the craze for that one. So really enjoyed that. Look forward to somehow getting out there and finding the movie that had come out for it. I finished season 3 of Daredevil, and man, did I enjoy that.
So what do you think of all these Netflix cancellations have been kind of
so with that,
week or two?
I'm actually a little disappointed. Now, I can understand it to a degree because each of the different shows have their plus and minuses and how they flow. I will say that first season of Iron Fist I thought was awkward and a little weak. Second season, I kind of started to enjoy better and thought they had done a more solid job of the overall one, and I was actually looking forward to see, all right, what are you going to do with the third now?
My thoughts.
Now that the main actor started actually getting into this role. Because the first one, it was awkward, it didn't fit. The second one, I actually felt like he had done some training, and everything just felt a little more slick and smooth, and I was like, I like this. Whereas like Jessica Jones always been a continuous awkward one for me, but I've overall enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought Jessica Jones was awesome.
Well, so I've enjoyed them all, but it's not my key go-to. There are moments in Jessica Jones I think are marvelous, but partly it's because she as a character is one that you mostly hate because she makes so many poor decisions every episode that I can't get
honestly
behind
here for
her.
it. I just sort of go like, oh, Jessica.
Well, no, it's one of those where it's like, I can't support you because you're an idiot. It's not so much that I dislike her because she's an ass. She's an idiot. Like, the decisions she makes are so ill-informed for being a PI. And yes, it fits her general, like, the theme of her character. But at the same time, I think it goes over the top so much that I'm just like, all right, that was just dumb. I don't play well with dumb.
They do a good job of comparing what she goes through as like a sort of like.
Oh, they give it basis.
I don't know.
The psychological influences.
Telekinetic rape almost.
Well, so yeah, the way that she was conditioned in such a way that it makes sense how she reacts to situations. Absolutely does. But some of her decisions are just spiteful or short-sighted or are selfish in ways that I'm just like, you're just dumb. Yeah, but to a level that it's hard for me to support her. I still like the show. There's just a piece of it that I'm kind of like,
fair enough.
She's not my favorite hero, but at the same time, I enjoy it. Luke Cage has had some back and forth. For the first season, Luke Cage I actually really enjoyed. Second season was a little tougher for me. Like, I enjoyed it, and as a whole enjoyed it, but the story they were telling didn't do a lot for me. Overall, it was okay. And actually, there's some characters in Luke Cage I think that are phenomenal. I really like how some of them are acted. Like, dude, this guy. And so I don't know if it found a voice that I followed quite as well. But you get into, and I really want them to make another Defenders, like hardcore. I loved when they came together. Daredevil Season 3, I've enjoyed each of the Daredevils. Season 2 was a little interesting to me because it kind of, the up and down with Punisher and such, and I actually really enjoyed the Punisher series that came out. But this season of Daredevil, because I really had no idea where they're going to go with it, I really enjoyed. It was like a little more dark and hardcore throughout the whole thing. I actually really started to, like some people flipped in season 2 and started liking him more. I kind of barely did. Now I really do. Foggy, the character in it, I thought is actually solid as hell now. The actor is rolled into that role where he's no longer this kind of annoying whining guy. He's actually a person I can support and like, yeah, you do that, Foggy. Good on you. Like all the characters have kind of earned their way up in the world that way. And I thought the action scenes were solid. I love that they brought back my favorite villain in the whole series and did it in a way that's like, yep, that's the character. Thank you. And so I am really appreciative of what they did with this last season of Daredevil. And I'm hoping that people will catch on and keep up with it enough that we see some more of them. I really want them to be better, but we'll see. Yeah, and there is that, like my brother in the chat saying the Marvel shows are all going away because Disney wants all the IP on the new streaming service. And if that is what they do, I absolutely expect the pirating scene to go nuts. Yep. Because
that's the thing. The good thing with Netflix is that it's very convenient, but the more and more of these services that appear,
you can only Netflix, pay $10 a month for so many services before you're like, wait a second, is this cable TV again? Screw this noise. So, I'm a curmudgeon in the sense that I think Netflix was actually doing a great job, and maybe there was more money for companies to be made, but I don't think Netflix was doing it poorly, because I'm pretty sure everyone was making out. I am disappointed with how many companies have tried to say we want to do it ourselves because we want all of the money, we don't want to share. And I do not support Disney in this sense because, yes, growing up we had the Disney Channel when it was relevant in some way. Now it's garbage. At least I don't have kids. I don't care. And I don't understand what I would want from a Disney-only streaming service. I really don't. So
we have decided as a civilization that we are kind of we don't want ads anymore.
No.
And that's why TV failed, because on-demand services provided that. We also enjoy being able to access a lot of stuff in one place. However, nothing's really managed to get there yet. Like even Spotify kind of struggles in some cases. It's not because there are other music streaming services like YouTube, for example, and a lot of people just refuse. There's a lot of stuff that's like very indie or just not very available or behind some kind of weird copyright that isn't allowed to be on Spotify. And so there are every streaming service is struggling with this one facet of we can't get them all. And I think it's going to be breaking more and more. I don't know if pirating is going to become more popular. I'm hoping that we all start voting with our money and just going for the best one, be it Netflix, be it Prime,
well,
whatever.
it's why I still... So the best services I have, the ones I support, are Netflix and Amazon Prime. Now, Amazon Prime is a bonus to me because I pay for it for the Prime shipping primarily. Everything else I get from Prime is bonus to me, so it makes it high value. Whereas Netflix has consistently provided me something I enjoy. I also support Crunchyroll, but that's because I watch a lot of anime, and it has the best conglomeration of anime for me between that and Netflix. So I get a lot off of those services. People argue that Hulu is a great service for a lot of people. For me, there's still too much ad support in there, and it just bugs the crap out of me.
It's got ads, and you pay for it. What's the point?
Yeah, and so
never
so for me, that's
give them your money.
It really annoys me in that sense. And I do want to throw out there, although I don't know if it showed up here where it should have, but a shout out to DePaule for following us on Twitch. Thank you for the follow. Hey. Like I said, I didn't see it pop, but if not, I wanted to make sure I give that shout out. So thank you for that. But yeah. And there's the other thing. St. Uther puts in there, FYI to anyone with Amazon Prime, you get Twitch Prime for free. I love that these companies are trying to do cross-pollination to make it even more worth my value of something I was already going to support.
Yep, Amazon Prime does that very well, and clearly because they're doing it with Twitch and with their delivery service. And they have some access to some of the music, I think, as well.
Yeah, so their music service is pretty decent. They have some things on books. There's a lot of things you can actually get yourself that it's really wonderful. And so for me, I'm like supporting what I can. And
unlimited photo storage. I have that as well. Apparently, I don't use it.
On
Amazon Prime. If you go to
really
unlimited photo storage Prime, yeah.
Interesting. I may have to start looking at that. I use some other services to move photos and do things around, so I may have to watch that. But yeah, so that's the thing. I do not support Disney doing that if that's the case. And I've heard that rumor from a few people prior that they're trying to pull back all their IPs. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm enjoying Daredevil season 3. I enjoyed it, killed it, done. Like I said, I binge watched that one in maybe 2 days, honestly. Nice. 2 or 3 days as I was cleaning and doing other stuff. So that one was a lot of fun to me. And there's points where I had to actually pause because I'd be watching it on my computer down here in the basement as I was sewing my costume or 3D printing some stuff, things like that. And then there are other times where I'd be like, I'm going to take a break, go upstairs, get some food or something, and actually watch it on my nice big OLED screen. You know, my nice, what do I have, a 65-inch OLED? And which is gorgeous because it's one of the ones that comes through in Dolby HD or Vision, Dolby Vision on Netflix. So it's 4K with their extra HDR and all that. So it's just gorgeous. And there's certain scenes where it's like, yep, this is why I have this TV and this is why I like this aspect of the streaming service. Thank you. So all of those, I'm just like, heck yeah. The other one that I've been watching back in, and this is old for me, is the latest season of Shokugeki, which is Food Wars. If I say it right, I'm sure I said that horribly. But it's essentially this anime that, if I talked to you back in the day, is essentially like... I forget the old Japanese show that was it about the challenges of cooking challenges between two people. Crud, that used to be such a good show. Forget the one that it's equivalent to. But in Food Wars, Shokugeki is them actually being able to do a cooking battle to resolve conflict on this cooking academy where it takes place. It's a great anime for people that are, just kind of the various genres out there. This one's tons of fun. And
I'm sure it's a great anime for anime, but it's still anime.
It's a great anime. Iron Chef. Thank you, Copy. Yes, it's Iron Chef the anime. And they did things in season 3 that are just so big and have had me on the hook to just kind of keep watching. And so I've been loving that and wanting to binge it, except because it's an anime and because it's on Crunchyroll, I have to read it. And so that's one where I have to dedicate it to either before I go to bed or when I'm actually sitting down at my television watching, because I can't watch it on the side screen here because I'll be doing something on the main screen and I'll miss what the dialogue is. And so it's one I have to focus on, so I won't be able to crush through it nearly as quickly. All right, except from that, and it actually works out because I didn't think I had any specific news I wanted to bring up. But finishing out with some of the geek I've been doing, video game-wise, still playing Black Ops 4. Finally figured out the issue I was having prior where thank you, NVIDIA, for taking ownership for you being the problem. My Black Ops after the launch was crashing to desktop constantly, or it was locking up completely as it was trying to load in, where it would get a frozen screen, but I could still get the information, hear it behind, and hear the menus, but I couldn't do anything with it. Well, the solution was actually, it was an overlay issue in the NVIDIA experience. Or it has the ability where it brings up overlay and it'll do frame per second. It'll let you stream, all these kind of things that NVIDIA's driver set builds in. They had an issue, and so it took them a few days, but they released an update to the drivers that actually fixed it. And all of a sudden I can play my game. Yay! So frustrating.
Man, screw NVIDIA experience, by the way. I hate that junk. Just update my drivers. I don't want any of the other crap.
Well, so, okay, but here's the thing I do like about it that I think they need to go further into. It's similar in a way that NVIDIA Experience is having the issue that, God, we have the same problem we were talking about launchers from, or ways of consuming your media from streaming services, is how I get my media from digital distribution when it comes to games. Right, I don't need another platform to distribute my gaming. And actually, one of the things I was gonna talk about the other day or last week was Discord, because now Discord apparently is a store, because they got to be everything as well. And,
yeah, I'm
right?
intrigued for that, and it makes perfect sense to me, though.
It doesn't.
I see why they're doing it.
But I wish.
Right?
I don't know. I forget who owns Discord now or how they got through it. But it's still one of those things that I wish they would do more partnering with the companies that do it great.
Sorry, I thought it was Twitch that had that. I'm sorry.
So Twitch has their own store, but no, Discord just opened up one. And they now have an ability to buy down most of its indie stuff and things like that. But come on, I've got Origin, I've got freaking Activision's launcher through Blizzard, I've got the Epic Games launcher and such for all things Unreal Engine from Epic, you know, for Unreal Tournament, things like that, and Fortnite and all that.
By the way, they're not owned by anyone specific.
Okay, they're all their own, because I've got GOG for Good Old Games, right? Which I give them their own pass because they're covering things that nobody else covers, as well as new games. You know, I've got Steam, which is still king for anyone out there for the best launcher and experience out there. And it's the same way where I want to keep supporting Steam because they do such a good job. And I know they pull money out of pockets from distributors, but they do such a good job with the distribution, updating, chat. They increase their chat functionality to be a lot more Discord-like.
They learn from their competitors eventually. Yeah,
right. And so they've done so many good things. I want to stay in the one place. And most of the launchers, and this is almost just as bad, let you bring in your game titles to launch from their launcher, even if they're installed somewhere else. So you can make a singular experience to a degree, which mostly works. And I tend to do it through Steam because it's my primary. But it just is annoying. Yeah, sorry, Bethesda has their own even, right? God, there's so many. It's just annoying to me to have to keep track of them all. I'll try to launch a game, and all of a sudden I'll look at my taskbar, and I've got like 8 launchers open, all trying to update things at the same time. Would you just please effing stop?
Origin, yeah.
Oh, it's so annoying. So in that same sense, I wish they would slow down with that, because and it's still weird for me to go through the Battle.net launcher to open up Black Ops 4. Like, that just does not resonate for me properly. Anyhow, but I've been playing Black Ops, having fun with that for the most part. It is, I was joking with the guys today as I played it this morning, that Black Ops 4 is essentially Call of Duty. We stole the game mode from every other popular game out there from online multiplayer gaming, versus it being its own game. Because it's essentially, they added the Battle Royale mode, which everyone's aware of. They also, you know, they had their own zombies. I give that to them. They, I think, were probably one of the bigger ones for doing a zombie mode.
That's true. They put an effort there.
Yeah, and then they have their traditional multiplayer with the kind of the normal maps you'd expect, but they just added a mode that is called Heist, which essentially is Call of Duty Black Ops meets CS:GO meets Battlefield. Well, yeah, okay, Payday would be a good version of that. Yeah, almost like Payday. Where it's, you start with, you know, a little bit of money and one pistol. And like in CSGO, you can choose to save your money or pay money for a better weapon. And then each team has to run, grab a bag of cash that's somewhere spawned on the map, and get it to a randomly spawned extraction point. And you get 1 life, but you can get hurt and then picked back up by a friend if you get downed. And so it kind of combines some of their mechanics. But they just added that. And so it's funny because that is basically modes from other games that they've now incorporated. Which in a way is great because it's adding value to a game that is an online-only game for a full-price thing. And so, yeah, that works. So my brother, again, Babs, puts in there, says, as long as Valve takes 30% of AAA games, or the AAA games will try to bypass them. Yes, I think there needs to be some other deals thrown in there. It's the same thing. Like he then says,
it's quite dumb.
How Fortnite skipped the Google Play Store. Because
if Valve just took 5%, they'd still make bank on nothing. All they're doing is hosting some servers, right?
Essentially,
and 5% of 1 million sales each for
is
$40.
still a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
And so I struggle because everybody wants to make their money. Everybody feels like they probably deserve all the money because they feel like they're probably creating the best part of it. At least with Steam, I supported a lot of what they were doing because they were cutting out the traditional middleman of distribution of store shelves. And thus they were actually saving companies a lot of money when it came to packaging and physical creating media and stuff like that, just to provide a digital distribution hub. And so in a lot of ways, I felt like their model was based on the idea that they were actually saving companies money so they could ask for a little more than those might have been otherwise traditionally. And so I kind of got a feeling around that as a whole. And maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe those numbers were different than that, but generally that's how I feel. And just for my Pokemon Go friends, as I just have it sitting here on the desk and something spawned next to me, I got a Poochyena that is shiny just now. That's an amazing shiny sitting there. It's nice and pretty and yellow. It's so cool.
The shinies.
So yeah, I looked at it on the map. I was like, that's a Poochyena, but it's a different color. So awesome. Happy about that. So yes, as Ken is playing around with Stellaris or such, I have Pokemon Go open next to me. I do have WoW open behind me, but I'm just sitting in an inn getting rest. But so yeah, that's Black Ops. That's the main thing I've been gaming. Still playing this Royal Royale thing on my desktop that I should delete. The Royal Revolt 2, which is just dumb. I don't know why I have it. 3D printing. I printed the hook and stuff for my costume. I printed some decorations that I should have brought down here. I printed like this cool alien skull and this really neat desktop like raven sitting on top of a couple skulls that I printed in a carbon fiber material. Came out really pretty, so really happy with that. Nice. I spent a day on Friday talking to Tasty Meat about 3D printing. Apparently he wants to do hobby, and so we started talking about things and and I spent like 2+ hours just talking. Like, here's this little piece. And I was like, yep, this is what I do. I get into a hobby and I learn a surprising amount about it and rarely have people ask me much for me to be able to pass on the information. So he got like my crash course in all things 3D printing.
I had a student once say to me a couple of years ago, like, how do you do a lecture? Like, I don't think I have anything that I could sit up and talk about for an hour. I was like, do you play video games? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, what's your favorite system? And he thought I just changed the topic. But I got him talking for like a good 5-10 minutes about just what he's been doing in the past week. And I was like, dude, you've been playing video games for probably like a decade and a half, right? You just talked to me about the past week for a good 5-10 minutes. If you just had to talk about the past month, you could probably fill a lecture. You could do a month of video games you could do a series of lectures for 5 years of just video game content of your own personal experience.
Yeah.
Or you do anything else, right? Like, it's not like, and never mind the fact that that's just video games in general. If you want to just talk about, like, I don't know, Skyrim or Warcraft, right? The Warcraft universe or the lore.
Oh gosh, it's been forever.
Or technology and other stuff. It's like the show, right? Like we will never run out of content. Not only is there always new content, but even if time got paused and we were somehow just talking about the past, we could still do this for the rest of our life.
Actually, that's a good point to bring up. As we reach out to the community of people who are listening to our show and watching us each week, we always recommend, we'd love to make this interactive and get your feedback. One of the things I'd love to see is if you, either on our Reddit or on our email, if you were to bring in some topics you'd like us to talk about. It doesn't have to be just the freshest news of what's coming out there. That's interesting too, and we'll definitely give our opinions. But if there's something you've heard us talk about in the past, or there's something that you feel that we are authorities on, feel free to, pick our brains. What was it, last week or the week before that we got into, I think it was last week, got into just like how to level yourself up when it comes to jobs and things like that. And
that was fun.
It wasn't necessarily game related, it was life related, but it was based off Ken and I's experience as a whole. And that was not my intent, you guys. And so we are happy to kind of talk about the things that you guys would find interesting. The show is about to end. Like I said, we had our time difference for people who are out not in the US and came in at a later time than they expected. Do want to throw out to people, though, that, or maybe earlier, I had one article I kind of want to bring up, and mostly because I do see Babs in there, I almost want his opinion, that the fact that California had passed their new net neutrality laws to try to save themselves from the government, but they just announced that they're going to wait to actually implement them. And I haven't taken the time to read up as to the details about what they're waiting on or why. But I am kind of curious people's opinions on that, because I was hoping this would be our first shining example of a state taking into their own hands the responsibility of allowing their people to have a fair internet access and market that's not led by greedy ISPs, essentially. And so I'm curious, because I do think it's going to be a not a roller coaster, but it's going to open the dam, essentially, or break the dam down for other states to do the same kind of thing and to offer it. You know, you will hear from me continuously that municipal IPs is where I put my money. I would love to see cities take ownership of their internet for their people, because I believe you have a better option of getting actually good service without people just trying to lynch you for more money. So that piece, I was kind of curious about that, because I see a bunch of articles. I had one that came out talking from the FCC chief about some numbers that came out saying that they validated net neutrality's repeal. And the funny thing about the article is because the stuff that he brought up is all based on things that happened before the repeal took place that show that we actually didn't need the repeal, because we were already getting the benefits we actually wanted out of having it as a Title II protection of communication. And so now that it's been repealed, he has no backing, but he was trying to claim those benefits under this new law that hadn't taken place yet. I swear that guy is dirty through and through. Just not right. And Babs is saying...
He's such a douchebag. I hate that dude.
Really is, and he speaks out like he's trying to do people favors, like actually trying to help
Which
real
makes it so
people.
much worse.
Yes, you just look at him like, you piece of... Again, Scottish vocabulary wanting to come out on air. But let's see. Babs...
It's surprisingly robust in these situations.
Right? Yeah. Babs says need to wait for a current administration to get check and balanced so the feds don't sue us. I would love to see you guys fight that battle and win it, though. See, plus in California, we're focused on getting community power going. Internet is a bit lower priority. Fair. I can accept that. Now, if you rolled it in there again and kind of made it where if you're doing with power and you just made internet part of that normal thing and everybody got it, that could be cool, too.
Guys, I ain't joking when I say that I think internet access and fair internet access is a human right. I genuinely believe that.
It's why it made so much sense in this nation when we made it Title II. We made it the same as electricity as a common need of people, because you cannot effectively interact with the world today without the internet in some form.
Without open and free communication is not a democracy.
Yeah, that's just so bad. So I just... Something that'll challenge the feeling of power from an individual perspective is watching someone like Pi say the things, do the things he does, when you're just like, rarely do I feel so inclined that if I were to walk up someone on the street and see them there, I'd want to full open hand slap them and just be like, would you stop? Just, so bad. Anyhow, so that was our little touch on news this week with some articles as we finish out the show today. For those who are jumping in, I don't know what your schedule's like, Ken. Now that's an hour early for you for the 1 week before we catch up to you.
Yeah, I'm free.
Whether you're going to be gaming or not, yes. So that I will be jumping in afterwards. I'll probably refresh my drink, heat up my food again, and then I will switch things over, jump into the Discord so that we can play some games. Probably some WoW for the most part, but if others are willing to try to entice people, I'm sure we could play any online game together. So let us know. All right. With that, Ken, would you do me the favor and get us out? Yes, as Roxy says, internet is required. My daughter is 5, kindergarten, and issued a tablet that requires internet for her to do homework. Yes, all those things I said are real. Title II, everybody, should be a thing. All right, we're done. Ken, could you roll us out?
You have been listening to Show X live on VTW.com, also on twitch.tv/VTW Show X, and also on YouTube versus the World video on YouTube. Check us out on all these different places. Send us an email, showx@vtdirections.com. Be sure to support us in all the different variety of ways that you can. You can follow us on our social medias, twitter.com/showx, twitter.com/docdead, and twitter.com/gohex for the show, for Mr. Wayne, and for me. You can check us out on Facebook by searching for ShowX there and follow us and like us there. It's much appreciated. You can support us financially on Patreon, but we understand that not everybody can do that. So, if you can spare $1 a month, that's where you can do it. Patreon.com/ShowX. Every dollar is appreciated. Let's just afford things like this lovely microphone in front of my face. That's how we can keep doing the show. But otherwise, please do like us and share us elsewhere on the interwebs. That's always appreciated too. I think that's pretty much everything that's worth. Oh, reddit.com/r/showx.
Yes.
Follow us on Reddit. That's a good place too. We want to start using that more. It's a good community hub. And also join our Discord if you haven't already. It's good fun. It's a nice place to sit and chill out, and we play a lot of games. We do quite a lot.
And the VTW Discord has a lot of people on there playing various games. Some that maybe don't listen to the show, and that's totally fine. But that is where a lot of our friends get together to chat, share what their experiences are, and find other people to play games with. So jump in there, become part of that community, as well as your support here on the show. We very much appreciate it. So thank you, everybody, for listening yet another week on Show X here on VTWProductions.com. We look forward to entertaining and seeing you again next week. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.